3, 2, 1, et bonne année! Bonne année 2025 à toutes et à tous. Je vous souhaite de prendre autant de plaisir que j'en prends en ce moment sur l'eau.
Frohes neues Jahr! Happy New Year! Bonne année!
Happy New Year to you all, and it was great to see how the sailors saw the new year in. This is our first update of 2025, the skipper's 52nd day at sea, and we start off with updates yesterday from Sam Goodchild and Boris Herrmann, who are both in the South Atlantic but in upwind conditions, so their IMOCA yachts are really slamming in the waves. Then we take a look at the course so far on the Initiatives Kerr website to see exactly what they've done so far in 2024. And then we take a look at the tracker, the leaderboard, and then PredictWind options for leader Charlie Dalin, who is making his way up the South Atlantic, and also Clarisse Crémer as she approaches Cape Horn, and they could have that group there could have an easier route up the South Atlantic than the group from 4th to 10th place. And then we have an interview. Andi Robertson talked to Conrad Colman yesterday.
Hello everyone, a little update from the South Atlantic. We're going upwind and we're starting to slam at it, which isn't very fun, but it's the first time since the start, so we won't complain. We had a couple of days of nice weather, flat water, sunshine, managed to get some job list done, and that's over for now. So yeah, we've got a week that's going to be a little bit complicated tactically, trying to find the best way through all the fast-moving South Atlantic. But yeah, we're in good shape. It's nice to have 2 days to get everything back in order, and we're off again. So hope everyone has had a good 2024. Have a happy New Year this evening, and update you next year. See ya.
Hey everyone. We are sailing upwind in bouncy sea state. Not very fast progress these last days, and the next days will be hard upwind, rough conditions, so it's not so great for the celebrations. Nevertheless, the minimum we can do. I don't feel like climbing around and decorating the boat. I have a bit of decoration here foreseen, but it's just hard to hold on, and it's not the right day for that. So unfortunately, a little bit like Christmas, not a relaxed day. I wish you all good celebrations tonight. A happy New Year for those who are already in the new year. Like Stu, our boat captain in New Zealand, he is already in the new year, and some of our competitors, which are behind the anti-meridian 180 longitude, they are also already in the new year. Fabrice Amadeo, for example. So this is the mind-boggling thing about the time zones a little bit. Wishing you all good celebrations, and thank you everyone for everything in 2024, and really looking forward to 2025. Seeing you soon in the Sable d'Olonne. Sail well through this night. Ciao.
I was asked by a friend Jason last night as to why I wasn't using the Initiatives Kerr website of Sam Davies for the tracking, and I hadn't really got a good answer for it. So it's a very good time to use her website to follow their progress, and we can see how the entire fleet made its way down the Atlantic Ocean, really tightly bunched, and it was only when they got to the Cape of Good Hope and into the Indian Ocean that the fleet really began to spread out as those leading foilers put on the distance in those stronger winds and also just with those faster boats. And you can see those deep depressions in the Indian Ocean just driving them on as they then made their way to the sub-basement of Australia and then into the Pacific Ocean. And we can see these different groups start to come together at this point. We can see the group at the front three, then that really tightly bunched group of 4th to 10th and 11th place at this point before Yannick Besteven was forced to withdraw. And at the moment we can see they're making their way, the leaders, up that South Atlantic Ocean. And so it's just a really good recap of where we are so far and how the fleet has spread out. On the tracker at 0600 hours, we can see that Charlie Dalin is taking absolutely no chances with Yoann Richomme and is covering his every move as they make their way through those lighter winds. While the winds don't get much stronger, and actually they're probably in the strongest winds now, if we look forward 24 hours, they should start to at least have reaching conditions. So they will be on starboard jibe and not going upwind like they currently are. When we look back at Seb Simon, he's also in those very light winds, upwind, and those conditions are going to persist longer for him just that little bit further to the west. When we look at the group between 4th and 10th place, we can see they're also making their way upwind in about 19 knots of breeze between the ice boundary and the Argentinian coast. Thomas Rouillon still holds a comfortable lead over the rest of this pack in 4th place, and as we predicted yesterday, Paul Milhat is actually comfortably ahead of Nico Lundvin for 5th and 6th. These conditions are brutal on the boats, and as we just saw with Sam Goodchild and Boris Herrmann, the boats are really slamming in these conditions as they sail upwind. It's not what an IMOCA likes. For the group of 3 approaching Cape Horn right now, with Clarisse Crémer leading Benjamin Dutroux and Sam Davies just a little bit further back, it's been for the front 2 painfully slow progress in these light winds, which has allowed Sam Davies to come right back into it. This breeze is filling in from the west, and if we look forward 12 hours, we can see it's made its way a little bit further east towards Cape Horn, and in 24 hours it's fully filled in around the Horn. So I'm going to expect all 3 of these to round together at the same time. Behind them, either side of Point Nemo, we have Roman Atanasio in 14th, Damien Seguin 15th, and in 16th, John Le Cam, who continues to hug the ice boundary with his dagger boards. Going back to then Conrad Colman in 29th, who we will hear from shortly. At the back, we have the entire fleet now out of the Indian Ocean, with Dennis van Weenberg making his way past the longitude of Tasmania and into the Pacific. At the top of the fleet, Charlie Dalin has now pulled out a 79 nautical mile lead over Yoann Richomme. And one thing we can really notice is, with the exception of Seb Simon and Thomas Rouillon, the instantaneous speeds are much higher than the 24-hour average speeds for all the boats. As we scroll down, we'll see that is the case for all of them in the top 10, apart from those 2 boats in 3rd and 4th. This is due to them all sailing upwind at the moment, and so their speed through the water is pretty quick, but their speed, their velocity made good on course, so as in making their way towards the finish line, is much slower because they're having to tack through those angles. And an IMOCA doesn't have the tightest of tacking angles like you might see on an inshore boat such as an Etchells or a Dragon, which will point much, much closer to the wind. SailWorld.com's New Zealand editor Richard Gladwell has done PredictWind routing options for Charlie Dalin, and once they're through these light winds they can make their way towards the equator much quicker. Take a look at this blue line of these options that have come out, because this is very interesting. Yesterday we were seeing the vast majority of the options going to the west of the Azores exclusion zone, but this blue line is now going to the east, as are the majority of the options. And it shows that as they hook into that North Atlantic depression, it is going to be the first into that Bay of Biscay and back to Les Sables d'Olonne. The routing option for Clarisse Crémer, which also applies for Benjamin Dutroux and Sam Davies, shows that they will avoid those upwind slamming conditions which the group from 4th to 10th have. There's a bit of light winds around as they pass Rio de Janeiro, but after that again reaching conditions as they make their way up the South Atlantic. And so their passage up this part of the ocean could be much easier than the group just ahead of them, and they could make back quite a few of the miles on their way to the equator.
Hi Conrad, how are you?
G'day, Andy. How am I? I'm cold, mate. I'm cold. It's brutally cold down here, and I don't have a heater on board the boat, and so as I was just explaining in French, I have to eat a lot and have a lot of tea to keep myself warm.
How many calories do you suppose you're eating just now?
I'm making my way through a bucket of peanut butter.
Wow.
So I'm doing my best to eat more than 4,000 calories a day. It's
That's incredible. And what else do you do to keep warm?
Well, I have this incredible jacket that has a battery pack inside it, and there we go. So I've got a switch here, and it allows me to dial up or down these heating elements that I've got in the jacket, and it is an absolute lifesaver that Gil made me. It's a prototype, and so we'll see if they end up making it for other people. But right now, I'm absolutely loving it. And with my commitment to go in zero emissions and not burning any diesel during the course of the race, well, I don't have a heater on board, and I'm not starting an engine, which otherwise heats this living space in which I find myself. And so at the moment, I can quite safely say that I am the hottest thing down here. And thus, warm boots, warm layers, a heated jacket, and that's the way I make it through.
When it's been super grey in the Southern Ocean, do your solar panels still work?
Yeah, it's actually quite astonishing. I haven't used my hydro generators for the last week, and I've been running fully on solar, even down here in the grey south. I guess I have enough capacity with my Solvian solar panels that even in diminished luminosity like this, then I can still get enough power to run the boat. But it is truly amazing. And it's such a relief. I don't need to worry about energy at all. I just know that at the end of each day when I go into the night, I can check the levels on the batteries, and they're typically at 80 or 90%. And it's so easy, and it's fantastic not having to run an engine back in.
And that technology has moved on in 8 years since you last did the race.
Yeah, it certainly has. Last time I had a big electric motor attached to the propeller underneath the boat, and so I was generating power with my ocean volt hydro generator. And now I have the solar panels from Solvian, and it's great. I don't need to think about it at all.
Meantime, you're in a group in the peloton. You've got a nice race on.
Yeah, we do. We've just been bouncing up and down against the ZEA, the exclusion zone for Antarctica. And so it's a little bit tricky because we're jiving once or sometimes several times within the 4-hour skid. And so it's really difficult to try and get a read on how my speed is relative to the rest of the guys. Because in the 4 hours, we're doing zigzags, and then the 4-hour skid that is announced to the public is always drawing a straight line between the position of the boat and the zigzag. So we don't really get a sense of the speed of the other boats and or their course over the ground. So I'm just measuring myself against the other boats to see whether I'm getting closer or they're pulling away. But there's lots of activity down here, and certainly playing the shifts to try and get the best angle to keep attacking the east.
But overall, fairly moderate conditions for you.
Yeah, totally. Right now, I have 18 knots of wind, and I've got actually the wind has been reducing a little bit, so I'm going to shake out the one reef that I have and go back up to full main, and I've got the big Gennaker up and the J3 out. And so, who would have thought that in the middle of the Southern Ocean, I would be looking at putting up as much sail as I possibly could.
Is that going to last towards Cape Horn?
No, it's not. Things are going to get spicy again in the next couple of days. But still, quite moderate. 35 knots on the forecast, and that's quite remarkable. During the race up until now, I've never seen more than 48 knots, and I'm sort of quite happy to have that as my ceiling. And it looks like I'm going to maintain that all the way around the Horn. And it's been quite moderate. It's been great. I'm happy with where I've placed the boat in the weather systems, so that I can focus on going fast and not sort of wind myself into survival mode.
In the meantime, 2025 ahead, what are your resolutions?
Yeah, the resolutions are kind of be put on the back burner until I finish this race. And my goals remain: finish this race, finish it with the mast, and finish it with a smile. So if I can achieve all of those three things, then those are my resolutions for the Vendée Globe. And then once I make it home, we'll start figuring out the rest.
You'll be doing dry January.
I will be. Yes, absolutely. By default. Yes.
By default. But anyway, thanks, Conrad. Have a good day. All the best.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much for watching today, and thanks to the 24,000 subscribers to our channel now. If you haven't done so already, please do via the button down here, and take a look at sailworld.com and yachtsandyachting.com, where we will be bringing you all the latest news from the world of sailing in 2025.